Hello, you're watching Dukascopy TV. I'm Thomas Taplin. Now, in recent weeks, there's been a large upsurge of violence in Iraq, particularly near the strategically important city of Fallujah, as once again the country teeters dangerously close to an all-out sectarian conflict. Dukascopy TV finds out what will happen to investment in the country. Well, joining me on the line is Iraq investment expert John Drake from AKE. John, last time we talked, you said that it was normal for there to be daily attacks in Iraq, but that investment attitudes in the country were improving. This recent uptick in violence must have you concerned, surely?
Certainly a lot of people are concerned by the uptick because it is one of the largest increases in levels of violence that we've seen for several years. One thing that may be of some reassurance to potential investors, though, is the fact that around about 95% of all the attacks that took place last year, and as the trend that's continuing this year, are taking place in only 7 provinces. And that's predominantly in the central part of the country, as well as the 2 northern provinces of Nineveh and Tamim. The places where a lot of the investment is currently taking place, Kurdish Regional Government Territory or the oil-rich south, aren't seeing the same levels of attacks as the central region. So while the headlines are very alarming and it will be of concern to a lot of potential investors, the fact that the violence is taking place in a relatively concentrated area of the central region means that some are probably still able to carry on investing and sending their staff to places like Basra in the south or Erbil and Sulaymaniyah in the north. So it is generating concern and it's making a lot of people apprehensive, but so far it's been largely limited to the central region.
John, what about oil in the region? You mentioned earlier a little bit about oil. Is there a danger we might start to see sectarian groups such as the Islamic State of Iraq physically take over oil fields and operations in the Persian Gulf? Is this perhaps what's contributed to another delay in the development of the Nasiriyah oil field?
There are several concerns at the moment. There has been an increase in attacks on the main pipeline that goes from Kirkuk to Ceyhan in Turkey, and that has become more of a concern. It results in fairly regular interruptions to oil supplies from Iraq to Turkey. There's also the ongoing concern that the energy sector in Iraq, or in most countries in the region where it's strong and well developed, the revenue generated by the sector is vital to the government. So any terrorist organization that wants to harm the government will see the energy sector as a very attractive target. If you're able to conduct an attack against an oil and gas asset, it's massive political leverage against the authorities. So while the violence isn't concentrated in the oil-rich areas and there tends to be relatively good security around a lot of the facilities, these energy assets are still very attractive targets for the groups such as the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, which really want to target the Iraqi government. These energy assets are a very attractive target for them.
Okay, something slightly different now. Dubai's Chamber of Commerce and Industry announced this week they will be opening an office in Iraqi Kurdistan during the first quarter of this year. Do you think they might think twice now, or is this upsurge in violence not really going to affect a venture from a money machine like Dubai?
There is a lot of interest in Kurdish Regional Government Territory. That has been a building trend for the last several years. There's better infrastructure. There's seemed to be a very positive business environment. The authorities are very keen to encourage more investors. And there's obviously oil, gas, and opportunities in the construction sector, new emerging services industries. There's a lot of opportunities in KRG territory, and that's going to continue attracting new businesses. There is some concern over the violence that's taking place in the country. Obviously, Kurdish Regional Government Territory has been largely spared over the last 10 years. But since September, there has been a slight uptick in terrorist attacks, mainly targeting the Kurdish Peshmerga security forces in the region. That is grounds for some concern because it demonstrates that these terrorists, and they're believed to be affiliated with the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, are able to overcome the security measures.
Okay, after all said and done, we're now roughly 2 years on since troops pulled out of Iraq, and already we're now seeing what many predicted to be the quick collapse of a Western-backed democracy. Is this really happening, or would you call this upsurge a blip?
I would say it's more than a blip. It's more sustained. It's more consistent. And unless there's real negotiation between the two sides, the government and the Sunni community, particularly in Anbar, and a greater sense of inclusion amongst the Sunni community, this violence is going to continue.
Finally, and just in a nutshell, if you could, John, what's your short to mid-term forecast as far as Iraq's investment environment is concerned?
The main issue that people are going to be looking at, apart from the violence, is the upcoming election. A lot of investors, or would-be investors, will likely be watching to see who wins the election or who has the most votes in April, and then there will likely be a prolonged period of negotiation between different parties. This could last months. The last time it took several months before a government was formed, and a lot of would-be investors are likely going to be wary of putting their money in the country until they know what the next government is going to be like and who's going to be the next prime minister. There are one or two candidates with varying backgrounds and political ideologies. It's likely that a lot of investors will want to be more comfortable with the next leaders before they agree to invest in the country. So this could be several months beyond the April elections that this takes place. So over the first and second quarters of the year, a lot of people are likely going to be watching the country very closely before they make up their mind on whether or not they want to invest.
Okay, thanks for joining us for the latest on Iraq and investment. John Drake there from the International Risk Mitigation Company, AKE. That's all from me for the moment here on Dukascopy TV. Bye-bye.